Taylor Swift is one of the most highest grossing artists of our time, known for her songs about self-worth, falling in love, breakups, and loneliness. Today, we're gonna do a deep dive into her own mental health struggles, including anxiety, the need for external validation, and eating disordered behaviors. If you're struggling with your own eating disordered behaviors and poor body image, this video may be triggering to you, so please take care of yourself while watching. Take a look at my pinned comment below for a list of free mental health resources. Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anyone in this video. My analysis is solely based on information that's been publicly shared. Let's get into it. Taylor has publicly discussed her eating disordered behaviors in her 2020 Netflix documentary, Miss Americana. Let's start out with taking a look at one clip where she discusses how she used to feel when she would see images of herself. It's not good for me to see pictures of myself every day because I have a tendency, and it's only happened a few times and I'm not proud of it in any way, but I tend to get triggered by something, whether it's a picture of me where I feel like I look like my tummy was too big, or like someone said that I looked pregnant or something, and that'll just trigger me to just starve a little bit, just stop eating. I thought that I was just like supposed to feel like I was going to pass out at the end of a show or in the middle of it. I thought that was how it was. And now I realize, no, if you eat food, have energy, get stronger, you can do all these shows and not feel it, which is a really good revelation because I'm a lot happier with who I am. And I'm happier with I don't care as much if somebody points out that I've gained weight. It's just something that makes my life better. The fact that I'm a size 6 instead of a size 00. I mean, that wasn't how my body was supposed to be. I just didn't really understand that at the time. I really don't think I knew it. I would have defended it to anyone who said, I'm concerned about you. I was like, what are you talking about? Of course I eat. It's perfectly normal. I just exercise a lot. And I did exercise a lot, but I wasn't eating. And you can't. I don't think you're doing that when you're doing it gradually. There's always some standard of beauty that you're not meeting. Because if you're thin enough, then you don't have that ass that everybody wants. But if you have enough weight on you to have an ass, then your stomach isn't flat enough. It's all just fucking impossible. You don't ever say to yourself, look, I've got an eating disorder, but you're making a list of everything that you put in your mouth that day. And that's probably not right. But then again, there's so many diet blogs that tell you that that's what you should be doing. And then she's showing a paparazzi photo of herself that used to cause her to go into a hate spiral. I caught myself yesterday starting to do it. And I was like, nope, we don't do that anymore. We don't do that anymore because it's better to think you look fat than to look sick. And we don't do that anymore. And we're changing the channel in our brain, and we're not doing that anymore. That didn't end us up in a good place. Okay, so I'm not sure, as I haven't been able to find if she's ever talked about being in therapy to treat any of these eating disordered behaviors. Based on what she's saying here, it does sound more so like anorexia nervosa because she's using the word starving, and then there's extreme over-exercising involved. And I mean, why I say I'm not sure that she's been in treatment, the part where she's saying to change the channel, right, in your brain, or to change the thoughts, change a channel of your thoughts, that does come from therapeutic interventions.
However, when she's saying, I'd rather think that I'm fat than sick, I don't think that that's coming from any type of formal treatment because those are both two negatives. And so when you're looking at treating eating disorders, you're really looking at overall developing a healthy body image. And there's discussions about how your body functions and how it gives you strength and how you're able to move or do certain things, right? And so, as I said, I'm not sure if she's had any formal therapy, but I doubt it. This sounds more so on the lines of like life coaching tips. She's also described her anxiety over public scrutiny and her performances, speaking openly about how the negative attention has affected her sense of safety and self-worth. Let's take a look at this next clip from the documentary where she addresses all the negative attention she received, causing her to go on a hiatus. When people decided I was wicked and evil and conniving and not a good person, that was the one thing that I really couldn't bounce back from because my whole life was centered around it. Hashtag Taylor Swift is over party was the #1 trend on Twitter worldwide. Do you know how many people have to be tweeting that they hate you for that to happen? We're people who got into this line of work because we wanted people to like us, because we were intrinsically insecure, because we liked the sound of people clapping, because it made us forget how much we feel like we're not good enough. And I've been doing this for 15 years and it's just, I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of it just feels like it's more than music now at this point. And just most days I'm like, okay. But then sometimes I'm just like, it just gets loud sometimes. When people fall out of love with you, there's nothing you could do to make them change their mind. They just don't love you anymore. I just wanted to disappear. Nobody physically saw me for a year. And that was what I thought they wanted. So I will say this was probably a really great decision for her, given the barrage of hatred that she received online. It's very understandable that she would want to just take a step back, be offline, be with her closest friends and family, and use that time for healing and self-reflection. And that way, when she was ready to re-enter the public light, she's coming back with a more stronger sense of who she is. Now let's take a look at this interview that she did with Variety magazine surrounding the release of Miss Americana. Taylor Swift opens up about overcoming struggle with eating disorder. She tells Variety more about how unhealthy that's been for me, my relationship with food, a subject boldly broached in Miss Americana. I didn't know if I was going to feel comfortable with talking about body image and talking about the stuff I've gone through in terms of how unhealthy that's been for me, my relationship with food and all that over the years, she tells Variety. But the way that Lana Wilson, the film's director, tells the story, it really makes sense. I'm not as articulate as I should be about this topic because there's so many people that could talk about it in a better way, but all I know is my own experience. And my relationship with food was exactly the same psychology that applied to everything else in my life. If I was given a pat on the head, I registered that as good. If I was given a punishment, I registered that as bad. So here she's touching upon the need for external validation, and constantly needing that appreciation, that love, admiration, and approval from others, right? To say that yes, you're doing the right thing, or yes, maintaining that quote good girl image. In the quiet of a hotel suite, she goes into greater detail on how formative an effect that one early tabloid torpedo had on her. I remember how when I was 18, that was the first time I was on the cover of a magazine, she says. And the headline was like, pregnant at 18. And it was because I had worn something that made my lower stomach look not flat. So I registered that as a punishment. And then I'd walk into a photo shoot and be in the dressing room, and someone who worked at a magazine would say, "Oh, wow, this is so amazing. You can fit into the sample sizes. Usually we have to make alterations to the dresses, but we can take them right off the runway and put them on you." And I looked at that as a pat on the head. You register that enough times and you just start to accommodate everything towards praise and punishment, including your own body. I was watching a Netflix Brene Brown special on shame because I read a lot of her books, because I have dealings with shame every once in a while. She was saying something like, it's ridiculous to say I don't care what anyone thinks about me, because that's not possible. But you can decide whose opinions matter more and whose opinions you put more weight on. And I think that is really part of growing up if you're going to do it right. That's part of hoping to find some sort of maturity and balance in your life. In this 2019 interview with Medium, she talks about how she's been able to manage her anxiety. It can feel at times, if you let your anxiety get the better of you, like everybody's waiting for you to really mess up, and then you'll be done. It goes on to reference another article that she actually wrote in Elle magazine called 30 Things I Learned Before Turning 30, where she talks openly about turning 30, how she's managed to cope on tour, ways that she handles her hectic schedule, and how she works to stay focused on herself when things get stressful in the spotlight. She said that taking vitamins has become part of her personal wellness routine. Quote, "Vitamins make me feel so much better. I take L-theanine, which is a natural supplement to help with stress and anxiety. I also take magnesium for muscle health and energy." One thing I will say, it's really important to take a holistic approach to your mental health, and that does mean prioritizing your physical well-being. So that's great that she's taking natural supplements. There's also ashwagandha and 5-HTP that help with overall stress management and relaxation. However, once again, I'm not hearing her ever reference any type of formal therapy that she's participated in. So let's dive into that Elle interview, and I was able to pick out a few of her tips or lessons that she talks about learning before she turned 30. I picked out a few that I thought were more significant. So let's take a look at the first one. I learned to block some of the noise. Social media can be great, but it can also inundate your brain with images of what you aren't, how you're failing, and who is in a cooler locale than you at any given moment. One thing I do to lessen this weird insecurity laser beam is to turn off comments. Yes, I keep comments off on my posts. That way, I'm showing my friends and fans updates on my life, but I'm training my brain to not need the validation of someone telling me that I look hot. I'm also blocking out anyone who might feel the need to tell me, "Go die in a hole, ho," while I'm having my coffee at 9 in the morning. I think it's healthy for your self-esteem to need less internet praise to appease it, especially when 3 comments down, you could unwittingly see someone telling you that you look like a weasel that got hit by a truck and stitched back together by a drunk taxidermist, an actual comment I received once. Here's another one. I learned to stop hating every ounce of fat on my body. I worked hard to retrain my brain that a little extra weight means curves, shinier hair, and more energy. I think a lot of us push the boundaries of dieting, but taking it too far can be really dangerous. There is no quick fix. I work on accepting my body every day, realizing childhood scars and working on rectifying them. For example, never being popular as a kid was always an insecurity for me. Even as an adult, I still have recurring flashbacks of sitting at lunch tables alone, or hiding in a bathroom stall, or trying to make a new friend and being laughed at. In my 20s, I found myself surrounded by girls who wanted to be my friend, so I shouted it from the rooftops, posted pictures, and celebrated my newfound acceptance into a sisterhood without realizing that other people might still feel the way I did when I felt so alone. It's important to address our long-standing issues before we turn into the living embodiment of them. So again, she's mentioning childhood scars, okay, history of bullying, right? Some old wounds that tap into negative core beliefs, low self-worth, low self-esteem, but I'm not seeing any reference as to what she's actually doing to try to challenge that negative self-view. Her next lesson is my mom always tells me that when I was a kid, she never had to punish me for misbehaving because I would punish myself even worse. I'd lock myself in my room and couldn't forgive myself. As a 5-year-old, I realized that I had to do the same thing now when I feel I've made a mistake, whether it's self-imposed exile or silencing myself and isolating. I've come to a realization that I need to be able to forgive myself for making the wrong choice, trusting the wrong person, or figuratively falling on my face in front of everyone. Step into the daylight and let it go. This lesson is quite telling. Typically, when we make a mistake, we do something wrong, we want to take accountability and responsibility for our actions, and we accept the consequences of them. But here, she's doing that to herself. That's definitely an indicator of if I did something wrong, if I made a mistake, therefore I'm unworthy or I'm unlovable. And so not even wanting to have, let's say, like that discussion with her mom as a 5-year-old, right? To go through and sit in that mild discomfort, right? Of self-reflection. Well, what did you do wrong? Well, what could you do differently? She would instead, she's isolating herself, right? And shutting down, not wanting to talk to anyone, not really addressing what is coming up for her at the core issue. So these things tend to get swept under the rug and it never gets resolved, meaning that she could tend to carry these small little mistakes with her because she's never able to openly process or openly resolve. It's like, oh, I did something wrong or I said something mean and now I'm just going to shut down and back away. I'm not able to have a healthy discussion about it as to why that was hurtful to someone, which can create a sense of anxiety in terms of navigating social dynamics. Let's take a look at this Nylon magazine article from 2019, where she again talks about taking a hiatus because she felt really low. I definitely don't feel good all the time, and I don't think anybody does. So in this article, they are referencing a phone call that Taylor had. She called into the Zach Sang show, where she revealed that her life isn't always as upbeat as she makes it seem. Quote, I definitely don't feel good all the time, and I don't think anybody does. She also notes that there have been times where I needed to take years off because I just felt exhausted or I felt like really low and really bad. At that time, she had just released her single Me with Brendan Urie of Panic at the Disco, and notes that the song isn't just an upbeat track to play when you're feeling yourself. Instead, she says it's helped her when she's not feeling her best. Quote, even in the moments when I'm feeling really, really low, I think it will be helpful when I get to go on stage and sing this song and see other people singing it back to me. She notes that the song and the upcoming album cycle have her feeling, quote, really energized. She also spoke some truths about the made-up idea that we're always supposed to feel happy. One thing to always keep tabs on is the fact that we have to know that there's no happily ever after where we're just happy forever. Happiness is always going to be a struggle and a challenge that we have to try and meet. Self-worth is always going to be something. It's a process of trying to get there. That's not naturally how we're going to feel all the time. So again, here it sounds like she hasn't really addressed what's going on at the core to say that self-worth that's always going to be a struggle. That tells me that any negative core beliefs that she's had, like I'm not good enough, no one likes me, I'm unlovable, have never really been addressed. At least at the time of this article, which was 2019. You know, understandably so, people do tend to focus on, I want to strive to feel happy. But the fact of the matter is, happiness, just like any other emotion, is ephemeral. And we can experience a multitude of different emotions daily. Here, when we're talking about happiness, it's more so about being mindful throughout your day and paying attention to the joyful things or beautiful things that are happening or going on around us. In regards to trying to feel or be in a state of happiness, it's more so about being grateful, showing gratitude, or being thankful in the moment that can help you feel a moment of joy. And then the more moments of joy that you have, that's going to lead you to that emotion of happiness. Now, fast forward to 2024, where she released the Tortured Poets Department, and the Summit Wellness Group wrote an article analyzing some of her songs as they relate to mental health. So, specifically with regards to Fortnight, a few of the lyrics, quote, "I was supposed to be sent away, but they forgot to come and get me. I was a functioning alcoholic till nobody noticed my new aesthetic." So with this first verse of Fortnight, Taylor writes that she was supposed to be sent away, perhaps for psychiatric treatment. This notion is echoed in other tracks like Fresh Out of the Slammer and Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, which includes a lyric, "You wouldn't last an hour in the asylum where they raised me." In the second line of Fortnight, Taylor claims that no one came to get her to take her away, implying that she lacks a support system. Swift's absence of a support system appears more apparent when she claims that she was a functioning alcoholic until nobody acknowledged a change in her appearance. Saying that her drinking habits were functional before nobody noticed her suggests that her alcoholism eventually reached a point of no return with the realization that she no longer had someone to lean on. In another song, Florida, she finds herself barricaded in the bathroom with a bottle of wine, trying to escape the hurricane of loneliness that comes with stardom. If you're a Swiftie, you probably know better than me, but I haven't been able to find anything where she actually refers to herself as an alcoholic or even referring to herself having a drinking problem or drinking excessively in any way. So let me know in the comments if she has made any reference to alcoholism. Otherwise, to me, this is just a lyric. With regards to the part about being sent away, supposedly, perhaps, for psychiatric treatment, again, her PR team keeps things very tight. Okay, her image is tightly locked. So if she were to have some sort of inpatient treatment where she's staying at a facility or at a clinic, I doubt that would be reported upon. I feel that she, again, has a strong PR team where she could have been able to seek treatment quietly. But again, if she hasn't come out and spoken on it, then none of us truly know. So there's several interrelated themes that I see for Taylor. We have a mix of anxiety and depression regarding her body image, performance, even hypervigilance to threat. She did mention fear of her safety in regards to, she brought up an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester from 2017, where there was actually a terrorist attack that occurred at her concert, as well as disordered eating and body image issues. So she mentions starving herself, so very restrictive eating, calorie counting, possibly food avoidance, and also self-objectification, which is driven by that need for external validation and wanting to be perceived in a positive light by others. Continuing on with the people-pleasing and external validation theme. So her having this seemingly chronic reliance on others' approval to determine her self-worth and her self-esteem, which is incredibly fleeting, because if you're unsure and you're not strong in terms of your core values, things that you stand for, what you believe in, then you'll easily allow others to sway you, which can absolutely negatively impact your overall functioning. And lastly, the good girl persona that she was trying to maintain for so many years. So the identity pressure to conform to certain expectations, like she was mentioning, being nice and agreeable and acceptable to others, that can maintain a cycle of avoidance and shame because you're really only showing one side of you, only highlighting certain characteristics. You're not presenting yourself as a whole person, as a whole individual to others, which that in and of itself creates a really superficial connection between yourself and others. Because if you're only allowing people to see a certain part of you, a certain side of you, then that feeds into those negative core beliefs. Because if someone really knew who I was, then they wouldn't love me. If someone knew the real me, then they wouldn't accept me. So now let's get to my clinical summation. Based on what Taylor has officially spoken about, which has been eating disordered behaviors, it sounds more so like anorexia nervosa behaviors because of the fear of weight gain, the overexercising, the focus on her appearance, concern about being overweight. She may also have had trouble sleeping. And also, she does talk about lack of emotion or feeling emotionally flat. So, not wanting to be as social at times. She also mentions at a certain point, she was writing down everything that she was putting in her mouth that day, possibly experiencing some orthorexia, which is an obsession with healthy eating, which can lead to incredibly restrictive behaviors. I can't conclude whether or not she would meet criteria for any type of mood disorder, like a bipolar 2, or generalized anxiety, right, or any type of depressive disorder. What I will say is majority of people who are diagnosed with an eating disorder do have comorbidities or co-occurring disorders. A comorbidity is generally defined as the co-occurrence of 2 or more physical or mental health problems. So people experiencing eating disorders are at an increased risk of experiencing co-occurring psychiatric or medical conditions. So for the purpose of this video, we're only going to look at the psychiatric comorbidities. Research demonstrates that 55 to 97% of people diagnosed with an eating disorder also receive a diagnosis for at least one more psychiatric disorder. The most common psychiatric disorders which co-occur with eating disorders include mood disorders, so major depressive, anxiety disorders, obsessive compulsive, social anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and trauma substance use disorders, personality disorders, borderline personality, obsessive compulsive personality, sexual dysfunction, non-suicidal self-injury, so these are self-harm behaviors, and suicide ideation. Death by suicide is significantly more prevalent in eating disorder populations compared to the general population. Recent research has found that individuals with anorexia are 31 times more likely to suicide than individuals from the general population. And the suicide rate for individuals with bulimia is 7.5 times higher than that of the general population. I will say, anecdotally speaking, in my own practice, I've worked with several dozen clients who have had eating disorders, and an overwhelming majority do have at least one other psychiatric diagnosis as well. So I will say, chances are she most likely had some other psychiatric diagnosis. But again, even as she was talking about eating disordered behaviors, I'm not hearing specific language, clinical language, as she's describing what she was experiencing or what she was going through, which would indicate to me that she hasn't undergone any type of mental health treatment. That being said, I could be totally wrong. I will say it would be a little disappointing if she felt as if she couldn't speak on it, given that, again, a lot of her songs include lyrics with themes of, again, self worth, loneliness, shame, depression, anxiety. So you would hope that someone of her caliber in her position and her level of fame would be able to speak more openly about how she sought treatment, like how she has tried to work on herself to become a better person. And I think that would be really great and inspiring to everyone. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe, and share with someone who you feel like would benefit from this content. It really does help my channel out a lot. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your thoughts on Taylor's mental health? Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.